And my name's Aaron Peeler. I'm the general manager for Whitewater Santee. This is one of our Whitewater Santee. We're owned by a nonprofit, the Whitewater Incorporated up in Charlotte. So if you've ever heard of the Whitewater Center, it's the artificial whitewater rafting, ropes courses, zip lines, outdoor activities. We're owned by them. And what this is this is the first time it's been open to the public in a sense. Since the beginning. So what we're doing here is we do bed and breakfast. You can come out like Airbnb, VRBO, rent it if you want to do that. We're going to be doing some weddings out here. We will be doing some races like a 5K or some mountain bike races over in Francis Marion, not here. But we're kind of using this as one of our outposts. So we're big into it. We'll also be doing environmental education and history programs for some school groups as well out here. And then maybe some corporate events, meaning like if your corporate team wants to come out and spend the day and do some team development and some kayaking on the river, and then some history tour, that kind of stuff, we can do that stuff. A little bit about, again, this is Middleburg Plantation. The name Middleburg comes from actually Middleburg, which is in Zeeland, which is in the Netherlands. So these were French Huguenots that immigrated here in the later 1600s. So this sits on 320 acres. And at some point during probably the third series of Benjamin Simmons, which I'll talk about that in a little bit, this plantation was actually up to like 3,000 acres. Right now we're on 326 acres. It initially started as 100 acres.
Wow.
It's grown, expanded, and contracted over time. So this is the oldest framed house still standing in South Carolina. Well, really, south of Virginia.
Yes, it is.
It is on a conservation easement. Yes, yeah. So we're allowed to do a few things out here regarding like another barn, inevitably, and like another living quarter. But no, it pretty much is going to stay the way you see it. Yeah. And it's our job to protect it. So with the Whitewater Center, that's actually what we do is we purchase a lot of land, and we not necessarily may not put it in a conservation easement, but it's going to be conserved to what it is. At our location, we initially started off with 230 acres. We're at about 1,300 acres right now. So the only thing that's on that property is mountain biking trails or running trails. And then it shows that by the birth of his fourth child is when the house was completely finished in 1697. The secondary area of the house was added on, was about this chimney here over, it was like about early 1700s is when that was finished. Okay, and then we'll walk through the other houses now. This one is pretty much similar to the way it looked even back then in some aspects, not all aspects, because we modernized a little bit of it, but definitely the outer houses are a little more modern than what you'll see, but the floors are original. Hey, so that was that, of course, Revolutionary War after the Battle of Quimby. That one is slightly up in the air if true or not. The reason why the Battle of Quimby, and I'm sure you guys, have you been to that location? Just literally right down the road about 2 miles. So the interesting thing about the Battle of Quimby is the fact that it was a quick battle. It was a lot of the British soldiers were trying to push back into Charleston. And so those raiders were coming through here and pushing quick. It is a possibility that Colonel Tarleton did put that mark on here. We're not quite sure if it happened because there is, an argument there. That they were pushing back so quickly that they were trying to get back to Charleston as quickly as possible.
What
did he mark it for?
Supposedly is that when he was coming through here, they didn't burn down the house. And so the thought is that he potentially marked the house on the way out of here. But that is a topic of debate. But you're going to see a couple names carved into the window here. And it happens to be on the window that is cracked, which I'll tell you another story behind that in a little bit. But so that was actually during the Civil War. So when the Porter's Raiders came through here during the Civil War, which was the Union soldiers, the Porter's Raiders came through first, and then the main infantry unit came through afterward. They actually intercepted here on property. And so the raiders were in here collecting they were stealing stuff, collecting the furniture, throwing it together, getting ready to light this thing up. And the Union infantry that was coming through here, the march to the ocean, stopped them. And the problem is, I don't have the names right now. I can send you the names when I get them. But the two generals that were here carved their names with their diamond rings into the window right there.
Wow.
before
I
they
didn't
left.
know.
This is the commissary, which we can walk over the commissary, which is on that side of the property. The commissary was built, I think it was about mid 1700s. And then the barn, that was about the same time as the commissary. That was taken down by Hurricane Hugo. So. So again, this was a rice plantation, and initially when it started, and right when he got here, the initial thought was he was only going to be harvesting wood. He was making turpentine. They were also doing, let's see, I think they were raising cows that they were actually taking the beef back to the Caribbean and supplying them. And then they went to inland rice fields and planting. So those two ponds over there were original rice fields. Middleburg is right here. Now in 1702, that's when they really got the confirmation to saying, hey, this land, this property is yours. They donated 2 acres to Pumpkin Hill Church. Now, on this piece of property, you're going to see multiple structures. These structures they used to have the barn a lot closer. There was also, over here, you're going to see basically 11 structures. They're kind of hard to see because we had to blow this up. But that would have been the initial 11 slave houses over on the far side. What I think is really cool about this fireplace was, again, this was another thing that was added, would have been early 1800s. So actually, President James Monroe stayed in this room, 1819. So this specific area, this was actually in early 1800s, looked old. So this was, in their mind, so this would have been like early 1700s look in some houses back in Europe. And then they put it back in this house. And again, which is pretty cool, is this would have been old to them putting this back in here. Old is new again. And then the granite was actually, at this point, this is when they were starting to put granite. And you'd see it in the fireplace in the front there as well, starting to put granite in houses. Later on, so again, we had the Simmons, then we had the Lucases, which had married into the Simmons, and then later on, the Balls bought the house, and basically, the Balls Ball Jarring Company. So from 1898 to 1902, this was Ann Simmons Ball's bedroom. So it's carved in the window.
Yeah, it's her room. Ann Simmons Ball, her room.
rice. They milled rice up until 1929. This was one of the only rice mills left after the Civil War that was still running. We actually were only one of 2 locations that did Carolina gold rice. The Emperor of China would actually bring boats here in the 1800s to get the Carolina gold. The kitchen house and the laundry house. So you have your chimney in the middle there. On the left side, the door on the left-hand side was where they would do the laundry, and on the door on the right-hand side is where they would do the food. And then the servants' quarters, inevitably, what we call the guest house, wasn't built until a little bit later. We think that most likely the kitchen house and the commissary were both built roughly about the same time, so mid-1700s. So, like I said, these are going to be a little more up-to-date than you would see. Location to get married is at this big oak right here, or again right on the drive. There'll be another location. Now, something that people say is that, and I saw it on Wikipedia recently, was that you'll keep seeing popping in there saying that this was the slave jail. And it wasn't. This is where they would dry the rice underneath. We actually had a professor of African American studies and archaeology at USC come out and did a study on this one. And if you go inside the attic, which we just got stuff stored down there, you'll see where it arches, where again, when they were drying the rice, humidity would take the moisture up and it would roll off the edges. And they were like, oh, this has got bars on it. No. That was just so people would take it. So, here we go. So,
wow.
Like the kitchen house, now the joists and stuff, it's just like the kitchen house, our original, but we just updated, more modern in here. And it's got 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Now this is another fantastic area. You've got some higher ground on this side around the street. It's another potential location for a wedding. And then you're closer to the water. So if you go to, sorry, I meant to say, so Whitewater Sand, or just whitewater.org. Just think of whitewater.org and then Santee.